Welcome to Scoop World Order. Wow, big news coming from Michigan. Potentially tomorrow, Jim Harbaugh, is he done? We're going to get you the latest massive news about Michigan. We're going to get into the Rutgers game award winners, as long as what to expect from Michigan State. Again, it's basically a 2-week bye week. We got Michigan State and Minnesota are both completely terrible. And then we've got the game of the century, Ohio State, Michigan up in Ann Arbor. I don't know if there's ever been a more hyped up game than this one's going to be, because there's a lot of stuff looming on this one. So I'm super excited about that. As always, very thankful and grateful for you guys. Record numbers this week. We appreciate you guys tuning in, clicking like, also clicking subscribe. Send this to your family and friends, any Ohio State fans, any Michigan fans, any people that you that hate Ohio State, love Michigan. Send this to them so that they can get the truth on what is going on. As always, we appreciate you guys. In the comments, shout out where you guys are watching from. Also, let us know who is your defensive and offensive MVP from the Rutgers game. I thought Jordan Hancock was fantastic. Trey Henderson obviously was magnificent. So we're going to get into all of that. But the latest and greatest on Michigan, it is our favorite topic every single day. All of the turmoil up north. Nevada Buck, what is the latest on the Big Blue?
Well, the latest on the Big Blue is, first of all, don't believe everything that you're reading or hearing coming out of there right now, because this is, I've used the expression, this is Game of Thrones, but this is what's going on up there right now, because you've got people with their knives out for Harbaugh from inside the house, but they've got to show how tough they are with the big. They've got to put up the good fight. But let me tell you, let's just kind of cut right to the chase here. Michigan has no legal stand. When you join the Big Ten Conference, you agree to allow the commissioner to dole out punishment. That's that's baked into the cake. So the idea that Michigan can kind of pick and choose which punishments they want to use, or we can go get an injunction, or we'll fight you or whatever. No, you can't. That you have forfeited that right when you've joined the conference. So Michigan really has very few options in terms of this. And the Big's coming for Harbaugh. They're coming for Harbaugh. They're coming for the commissioners. They want all of their scalps. Michigan is fighting. The fight now is not even about Harbaugh anymore, because Harbaugh's done. The fight is about whether they can save the coordinators and save their season, because the new commissioner of the Big Ten wants them all. So right now, we fully expect that tomorrow will be announced an indefinite suspension of Jim Harbaugh pending the outcome of an NCAA investigation, which, when we all know how long an NCAA investigation takes, that basically means Harbaugh's done at Michigan. Yeah. No, that's the long and short of it. I believe that Jim Harbaugh is done. I believe it's an open question right now, based upon how cooperative Michigan is or isn't with the Big Ten, whether or not the coordinators go down with them. I think there's other remedies that are on the table regarding voiding games, what do you want to call it, vacating wins, forfeits, whatever you want to call it, in terms of Big Ten games earlier this year. And obviously there'll be some other punishments down the road as the NCAA gets in. But it's going to be bad for Michigan. And for Michigan fans, you guys better prepare yourself, because you're kind of enjoying this delusion right now that, oh, we've got tape on Ryan Day, or we've got the. No, you don't. You have nothing. You don't have anything. And at some point, you have to accept the inevitability of the fact that you guys cheated. You cost C.J. Stroud a couple of Heismans. You cost Ryan Day a narrative. You almost cost Jim Knowles his job. You robbed some great Ohio State teams of some great memories, some great wins. So you guys got your temporary happiness, but you cheated. And now the bill's coming due, and you can't just run out on the bill. You got to pay the bill now, guys. You can't dine and dash. And this is the bill. The price you're going to pay for cheating is your reputation has been permanently tarnished, and you're going to lose your head coach, most certainly. And I think, I just don't know. It depends on how things go, whether or not they can salvage the season. And I'm talking about vacating wins, and I'm talking about their coordinators. I think it's all on the table right now with the Big Ten, and I think it's going to be bad. And I think it's bad. I think it's imminent, and I don't think Michigan has. I don't think they have very few cards, if any cards, other than put up a good public face, but privately cooperate with the Big Ten and make this happen, and say, wow, guys, we tried, Michigan crazies. We tried so hard, but the big, meanie Big Ten did this to us. But it's happening. So, guys, you better buckle up, because it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think the fascinating things, I think Harbaugh is absolutely done. I don't know how you keep the coordinators. Just from my perception, again, to use it in Urban Meyer terms. So when Urban Meyer came to Ohio State in 2012, when he first showed up in his thought, he was going to like fire hose the whole organization, get rid of everybody, Luke Fickell, Vrabel. Stan Drayton is about the only guy that was going to stick just because he'd had a history with Urban. But, you usually keep one guy, but he ended up retaining a bunch of us because, once he got down to the nitty gritty, he figured out that, hey, this wasn't like some rotten to the core organization. There were people that made mistakes, like Coach Truss, and he got whacked for it. But you didn't have to get rid of everybody. But in this situation, I think you got to get rid of everybody because these guys are right next to Connor Stalions getting his pick, and then all of a sudden calling a play every single time. And when you see how incredibly good CJ Stroud was, and the fact that he got shut down in the second half of last year's game, we scored 3 points in the second half. Like, that's almost comical. Like, how could that happen when you have Marvin and Emeka and these superstars, Trey Henderson, DeJuan Paris, Luke Whippler, like just like an outer worldly talented offense, and magically they shut us down in the second half. It's like they knew what we were doing. So I think that the whole thing's getting fire hosed. If I'm these guys, I'm backing up the Brinks truck and getting Lance Leopold because that's one guy that is the rocket ship this year from a coach, the kid at Kansas, he was at Whitewater, Wisconsin Whitewater D3 powerhouse, and he went to Buffalo, and now he's in Kansas. I mean, that guy will be at a top 10 job within 2 years because he's really good. Nevada, what does this next 3 weeks look like? Again, we talk 10 times a day, I feel like, and we're talking about how it's kind of nice, like these next 2 weeks, these games are basically unlosable for Ohio State. What would your strategy be? Because there's some guys that are beat up. Cade Stover, I don't think we're going to see him until Michigan. Emeka has been dinged all year. Trey looks fantastic, but do you treat it like kind of like preseason games? Do you put him on a pitch count? Because, the thing you want is you basically want to put these guys in bubble wrap until Michigan. But what's your thought on how you would proceed the next 2 weeks versus an overwhelmed and Michigan State? I mean, obviously their season's been over since Mel Tucker screwed up, and then Minnesota's just completely awful. How would you proceed the next 2 weeks leading into Michigan?
I'd pitch count them. I wouldn't want to put them totally on ice because I think you want them to be game ready, and I think to be game ready, even playing in games like this helps. But I definitely have them on a pitch count, and I'd stick to it. And I just try to get it. If anybody's even 90% or 95%, I'd sit them to get them 100%. But guys like Trey, who's 100% right now, I'd play him, see what I could do. And it really, you think about our schedule. Our schedule at the beginning of the year was described as brutal, horrible, terrible, the worst. A minefield. And I was looking at it and I was kind of going, man, I don't think Penn State's that good, and I think Wisconsin is really not that good. And so I didn't, and I, we had to win at Notre Dame. Really thought at Rutgers was the trap. So, I didn't see the schedule as being as vigorous because you look at these two. We have 2 weeks to prepare for going up to Ann Arbor, and you look at Michigan's game this week. Michigan's going to Penn State,
Yeah.
and that's a tough game, man.
That's a war.
Tough, that is going to be an absolute war for Michigan, and that is going to be just an unpleasant environment. And the only environment I can think of that would be less pleasant than that is going to be at Ann Arbor in a couple of weeks when they've lost their head coach. And you understand, the Michigan fans have to have somebody to blame for this. You always need an arch villain. There's got to be a super villain. So the super villain in this is Ryan Day. Well, I know we did all this stuff wrong. I know Connor Stalions cheated. I know that we stole practice film. I know that we illegally violated the recording rules. I know we did all this, but it was because of Ryan Day. And Ryan Day's brother hacked the computers and found this expense report and sent it on to the New York Times. And it's just so funny where you're like, guys, at what point do you accept accountability for what you guys did? This is the biggest cheating scandal in the history of college football. And you guys are sitting there pointing fingers outside the place about why it's somebody else's fault. And it's like, I mean, have some self-accusation where you realize some awareness that, man, you guys screwed up big time on this one and you got busted. And and you're bringing everybody else down with you. I'm still. I thought Matt Finks had a great tweet today, and I would. But the thing is, like, hey, Central Michigan, have you figured out who that guy was on your sideline yet? I mean, could some Central Michigan beat writer, and I know that there's probably somebody out there that does that. I know that somebody's on that CMU beat. Can you follow up with Jim Ackroyd and ask him, hey, Jim, by the way, did you ever get a chance to find out how the sign stealer got on your sideline? Because we haven't heard anything about that. That's been a week. Isn't anybody intellectually curious about
No.
how the heck that happened? And I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure he was on the sideline at Western Michigan, and we did the whole video replay of that and circled him on that. Nobody's been able to identify him from Western Michigan either. So it's like you've got all this stuff going on. Michigan's pulling all these other programs down with it, and you've got these obvious. I feel like there's like these obvious questions that need to be answered, and all people want to talk about is Ryan Day's brother, or Ohio State did it too, or stupid people on the other side. Oh, we've got a mountain of evidence against Ohio State to show it. It's like, guys, just give it up, man. Just own. The sooner you guys own this in your mind, I'm telling you, it'll be better. It does get better if you just kind of own it, and then kind of you can move along the stages of grief to acceptance. Because right now, staying in denial and anger isn't working for you guys.
No, I totally agree. I think that the only reason obviously it hasn't broken is because the one beat writer that covers Central Michigan football or whatever just doesn't care. And those guys are trying to sweep that thing under the rug. It's like when there's like a crime or like a major act and they just try to sweep it under the rug because there's a lot more to it. And they don't want like people to know what really is going on because, I mean, how many games was this guy at? I mean, was he, again, Central Michigan, they usually they'll go play like a Penn State or, when you're those MAC schools, it's like you serve that football team up to it's like you sacrifice your team to the gods. You got to go play at State College. You got to go play at Michigan. You got to go play at Notre Dame. You got to go play at, like at Ohio State where, you're going to get absolutely destroyed. But was he at any other road games? Obviously the one in-state made sense, but again, when you're Connor Stallions and you're making 55 grand, like you have to ask permission to get out of the team activities on Friday night. You don't just get to go, and just go do whatever you want to do because you're not, one of the top 10 coaches. Like, when we did stuff on Friday, Saturday night, it was all hands on deck. We had all the interns there. It's not like the GAs and the $55,000 guys got to go home at night. Like they're doing the same stuff as the top 10 coaches that are making millions or hundreds of thousands or whatever. So he had to say, hey, guys, do you mind if I go up to that Central Michigan game and see if I can? Because I think that what he was doing was twofold. I think that he was getting the signs recorded, but I also think that he was practicing. I think he was like there to like see, okay, let's see if they're still using the same signs as last year. Okay, they are. Okay, let's see how easily I can pick it. Let me see how quickly. It's kind of like a practice test, because I mean, it wasn't like a live thing, like he's in the Michigan game doing it, but he's over there and he's like looking. He's like, okay, that guy looks like he's the live guy. Okay, that guy's he's new. He's a new GA. Like whatever. I mean, again, there's the sophistication. Like it was ham-handed, but there was also a level of sophistication where they were really studying like the Keenan Bailey spreadsheet where it said, oh, he wore yellow 60% of the time and blue 28% of the time and green 10% or whatever it was. It was just like, this was a lot of effort and a lot of study. So I don't know.
But the other thing about it is, I mean, you have to admire. I mean, it was really almost the perfect caper because who would have even noticed the guy with sunglasses on at night at the game or something?
I know.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he goes to the sharper image and he sees these sunglasses and he's like,
oh God, yeah.
This is the greatest thing ever. I can get this along with like this foot louver massage.
Connor, sweetie, what do you want for Christmas this year? Mom, they've got these sunglasses now. They got a video camera and they're $250 and they have them at Best Buy, but on Black Friday they're $175. Mom, can you get me those? Okay, honey, what are you gonna do with those? I don't know. Okay.
Well, Connor, here's a pro tip. Okay, use those during the day, and you won't be quite as noticeable as when you use them at night. Okay, because if you use them during the day, there's lots of people with sunglasses, but you are the only person in the entire stadium with sunglasses on there, Connor. And you're not Coach Prime, so you can't get away with it there.
He's
Connor.
it's like he's notorious. He's like Notorious B.I.G. in the club. Got the
Oh, I know.
sunglasses on. He's the only guy in there, and it's why? It's because he's probably high. Um, so the next 3 weeks, like I said, how big is this Michigan game turning into? Because I played in the '06 game. Obviously, that was as big as you could ever make. It's a 1 versus 2 game, both undefeated. I mean, that's as high as it can get. But and we hated those guys, of course. But this is like a different level with all the weirdness and all of the 2 game winning streak by Michigan, and plus this one's up in Ann Arbor. What does this mean to Ohio State, and how big is this thing going to be in the overall dramatics of the Ohio State Michigan game, in history?
Well, let me ask you that question. I mean, you played in the game, you did this. I mean, if you found out that if Michigan had beat you the 2 previous years,
Oh,
and you found out the reason they beat you was because they were cheating and recording your signals, and
oh,
how would that impact? I mean, and maybe you just say,
oh,
well, that stuff doesn't impact me at all. Nobody really cares. But I mean, do players care about stuff like that?
oh. Here's the thing. If I was the guy that was left, in '07, I was the last of the Mohicans. AJ Hawken, those guys from '05 were gone, and then Troy Smith and Gonzo and Teddy Ginn, all my buddies were gone. If those 2 classes would have lost to Michigan, and then we found out that they cheated to beat those 2 classes, you kind of feel like you're the revenge, there's a certain level of vengeance where you're trying to avenge guys like Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and CJ Stroud and Paris Johnson and Don, and again, those guys, God bless them, murdering it in the NFL, absolutely getting paid. I mean, CJ Stroud will probably be the highest paid player in the NFL when he comes up in 4 years, but you still have to end your career losing to Michigan. And it just sucks. You never got a pair of gold pants. No, I mean, the guy that it really sucks for is CJ. Now, mind you, CJ will make $800 million or whatever throughout his NFL career, whatever's going to be after the TV deal, and they redo these deals. But he could have been a 2-time Heisman winner. He beats Michigan, man. And then you go play Purdue in the Big Ten championship, whatever turd sandwiches you see the next week. He legitimately could have been a 2-time because who beat him? Who beat him the last years? Bryce Young, who he's clearly better than, and then Caleb Williams, whose stock is plummeted as far as anyway, and he'll still end up being a top 2 pick in the draft. But I mean, just in terms of where he started this season to where he's at now, where he's crying in the stands, and I'm like, dude, you lost a regular season game. You don't need to go cry and jump in your mom's lap and come on, dude. You're gonna go to some team next year. You're probably gonna lose 16 games because you're gonna be playing for the Bears or the Cardinals or whoever. But I think that there's a certain there's gonna be a certain duty that Ryan Day and a lot of these guys are gonna feel to avenge these guys that didn't get to be sent out the right way. Because when you're a young player, when you're an underclassman, you feel a certain duty to send the seniors out the right way, to send AJ Hawk and Nick Mangold and Rob Sims, and then the next year you want to send Troy out and those guys, especially the seniors. When you have 3 and out guys like Teddy, obviously you want those guys to go out with the win, but the guys that really were the 5-year guys and the 4-year guys and the seniors and the great leaders, and you don't want them to go out with a loss. That's probably the hardest part about the Florida loss is we didn't get it done for the seniors, but in '05, we didn't get the ultimate prize, but we finished we beat Michigan, beat Notre Dame, so we felt like we sent them out on a really high note. So I think that there's going to be a big motivating factor, and that is the beauty of playing on the road, because I'm telling you, it's instant. It's just instant impact. It's instant juice. It's there's nothing better in the entire universe if you're an Ohio State football player or an Ohio State football coach than winning in Ann Arbor. It is the greatest feeling in the entire universe, and these guys have an opportunity to do it. And oh boy, what a win that would be for the program and for the state of Ohio. So. But what are your thoughts on it, Nevada?
Well, look, I think the game's going to be massive. I'm going to go on record right now. I don't think Michigan's all that. I do not.
I don't either, man.
I don't think Michigan's all that. I said it before the Penn State game. I was watching Penn State play, and I'm like, guys, I don't get it. It's I feel like Tom Hanks in Big, where he's in the room when they're doing the toy with the transformer, and he's like, I don't get it. That's how I felt about Penn State. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't see what everybody else seems to see. And I'll say the same thing about Michigan. I don't get it. I don't understand what all the hubbub is about in terms of this team. They have played no one. They have played absolutely no one. And Yeah, they've done what they can against overmatched teams, and ironically, after going 18-5 against the spread, or 18-5-1 or whatever in conference last 2 years, they play this week without their magic tricks up their sleeves from Stallions, and they don't cover the spread against Purdue. So it's like I I I tell you, I don't think they're all that, and I think Ohio State is really good, and I think Ohio State's getting better, and I think they're going to get it done. I think they're going to get it done. I know I'm going to be playing them. I know I'm going to be betting them. I think the schedule's set up perfectly now. We survived the Rutgers game, which was an absolutely losable game. You always have one of those on your schedule. I don't care if you're the 73 Buckeyes or the 2002 Buckeyes or the 2015 Buckeyes or whatever. You always have one of those games that's just kind of, hard to get up for, sleepy game coming off a night game at Wisconsin, and we got it done. We found a way. We got a pick six. We had Trey Anderson make some plays. We had Cal McCord do his usual second half voodoo where he just becomes a much better quarterback, and we got it done. So I think the schedule now sets up absolutely perfectly for Ohio State, and I think the Ducks are all lining up for Ohio State to have a big win, and Michigan's going to be without their head coach. And, you can say what you want about, oh, that's not a big enough penalty, or that's what this, that. I just say, if Ohio State lost Ryan Day and Brian Hartline became the interim head coach, do I think that would have an impact on Ohio State? And I think the answer is yes, it would. And
Oh
so
God.
I think it's going to have a dramatic impact on Michigan, and I don't think it can. I don't think they can get enough of the penalties. So whatever penalties come down, it's not enough.
I'm telling you, I think it's gonna be the hammer, and I love it. Oh, we got a super chat, my man Paramjot Sandu. Appreciate you, brother, for the 5. How about our guy CJ putting the NFL notice now? Such a great day today. Be even better with a gym suspension. I totally agree. Nevada, what were your thoughts on CJ? Because I thought CJ would be good. But dude, to go to one of the 2 worst teams in the league, the Houston Texans, and not have, he's throwing it to Robert Woods, and who's 38 years old. He's got a bunch of number 3 receivers, and he's putting these guys on his back, and he threw for 475, 4 touchdowns, let a drive with 40 seconds to go, 80 yards. Your thoughts on him? Because again, it's crazy to me when I think about how talented we've been the last 2 years and how we didn't win anything. And now, and what's even worse is how CJ Stroud didn't win a single national award. He might be the best thrower we've ever had. And he wasn't, he was just kind of he got invited, and he, got to let Desmond Howard dog him out. And, but we don't promote guys like CJ. So, he loses to guys like Caleb Williams, who's a turd, and Bryce Young, who's inferior to CJ. But your thoughts on what CJ's doing?
Oh, it might just be, for me personally, it might be the single biggest surprise that I've ever seen. CJ obviously, is a competent quarterback and going to be good, but for him to do it with this team this quickly, I would have bet Nevada Buck would be in the poorhouse. It's kind of like in the game of life, where you get to put all your money on the poorhouse and get one spin there at the end to try to win the thing or something. Nevada Buck would have been in the poorhouse at the end of this, because I would have bet everything that there was no chance, because he just didn't have the infrastructure. I've always felt the quarterback play is always a function of infrastructure, and that starts with offensive line, that starts with wide receivers, and he just doesn't have much. And that guy is just absolutely balling out. So, no, just kudos to him. He's done Ohio State proud. He's done himself proud. And like you said, he's probably going to make $800 million. He might make more. He might make $1 billion.
Oh God,
$1 billion in his NFL career. So, kudos to him. It couldn't happen to a better kid, and I'm happy for him. And he deserves it. He deserves everything he gets.
Yeah, it's like if Deshaun Watson, who who we call the Predator, my buddy calls him the Predator. If he is worth $300 million or whatever he got guaranteed, and he looks like he can't outrun you. He's so slow, and his arm is hanging by a turkey wishbone. If that guy's worth 300, what's CJ worth? CJ's 20 years old, shredding the NFL, and he doesn't have Devontae Adams or Garrett Wilson. He doesn't even have the receivers that are as good as what he had at Ohio State when he had Marvin and Olave. Any of the top 4 guys he's had the last years at Ohio State, and Jackson, if he had any of the top 5 guys he had at Ohio State, they're all better. They'd all be his number 1, even though he is making Tank Dell into a superstar. Tank Dell's nasty. Shout out Tank Dell. All right, got another super chat. Appreciate you guys. Do we really want Jim suspended for the game? Yes, I do. Don't we want him coaching his, I can't say the A word, behind off while we hang 100 on him and then let him get suspended? No, I want him suspended. I hope that their team falls into a sinkhole and goes into the middle of the earth. I don't care. You know, I mean, they don't feel bad for us. Like, again, when we lost the national championship game and Ted Ginn broke his leg on the first play, they didn't stop the game and say, hey, give us 9 months to let Ted get healthy. The game kept rolling. So, you know, if they screw up, they should get smacked. And again, he's got to pay a price for what he did the last 2 years to beat us. So, but your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, like I said, whatever happens is not enough. It's just not enough. It's not enough for me.
Yeah.
I won't be happy about it. I'm not going to be like, but it's the penalty is insufficient to the crime, because the crime is they stole 2 years from all of us. As a fan, if you're an Ohio State fan out there right now, you should feel like they robbed you for the last 2 years of a lot of happiness. Think about the grief, how much how you felt after those last 2 games. Where you're like, man, that really sucks. That's an awful feeling. That feeling where you can't go to bed. That feeling where you have to deal with all the chaos that you had to deal with on the message board. I mean, I'm serious. I feel like
yeah.
It's just the crime of cheating on the field in college football should have the stiffest possible penalty. And I think the hammer's going to come down, but I'm going to go on record. No matter what it is, it's not. They could shut the program down for 5 years and fire everybody, and in my opinion, it wouldn't be enough for what they did. So I'm for the stiffest possible penalty. It should be the harshest penalty in the history of college football, and it still wouldn't be enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you look at Kerry Combs literally lost his job. I mean, because they got ran through so bad on defense, and he got whacked. I mean, guys got fired. Greg Stroud, those guys got fired because of how they performed up at Michigan. Like that was the catalyst for people to get their nameplates taken off the thing, offices cleared out. I mean, it's a results driven game, and if it's rigged against you and you still lose, like you don't get a redo or a mulligan, or guys don't get to come back. They get whacked, and it changes lives when guys get fired. They have to go across the country, go take a new job, take a lesser job, be out of the profession, like whatever. So there's a lot that goes into it. So it's going to be a big game in 3 weeks. Bring down some plays. This was the absolute play of the game. Proc is playing like a first-team All-American. I mean, he's unbelievable. Nose for the ball. I was terrified that this was going to be called targeting, just because if you see it in real time, it looks like he hits the head. He totally avoids it, but just in fast motion real time, I was like, oh no, please do not call him for targeting, because we don't need him suspended. And then he ends up hurting himself because he's like Bob Sanders. Bob Sanders played for the Colts, played at Iowa, one of the greatest safeties in NFL history, had a really short career because he felt no pain. And I talked to some of his teammates that played for the Colts with him. It's like, that dude is the kind of guy, if there's a cement wall, he will run right into it, and he won't wince or brace or cut. He just runs. And that's why he was always hurt, because he was killing dudes. But Jordan Hancock, I mean, this is one of those plays that when they make the little mashup highlight after we win the national championship, where they'll say this was one of those turning point plays, because you look at this, and this ain't looking too hot for the good guys. I mean, these guys are down on, they're on the 20-yard line. They're running the ball right down our throats. And look, they're on the 25, so they're going to get at least a field goal. And we don't have any juice. And this is the first drive of the second half, and Proc makes a play, and Johnny on the spot, Jordan Hancock takes it to the crib. These guys do the pursuit drill. These guys are all finding work, trying to pick off the fat guys. Obviously Sonny is the guy who takes one for the team here when this dude cuts him, which is stupid and illegal. But once you get past the quarterback and you got like a slow tight end, like it's pretty much a wrap. But talk about this play, Nevada, because that was it. If not the play of the game, it could easily be the play of the entire season.
Well, a couple of points I want to make. One, I think the reason Proctor got hurt on the play is because he did ease off.
He's fading a little bit. I'll get him back in here. But yeah, I think Proctor, he eased off, man, because he could have ran through him, and I think that easily could have been a big targeting shot because that was a rough one. I'm telling you. But this quarterback, yeah, we're just lucky that this quarterback couldn't throw it all. All right, I got you back. You're saying about Proctor.
No, I think he held up on the play, and I think that's the reason he got hurt. I think if he'd have just driven right through the guy, one, he would have got called for targeting, but two, he probably wouldn't have hurt himself. I mean, sometimes when you kind of pull up and stuff like that, you kind of take the spot instead of initiating it. But it was a smart play. I thought in real time for sure it was going to draw a flag because the refs always throw that. They didn't. And let me just say, I know you're an ex offensive line guy, so you always cover for the offensive line guys. But the announcer, the ex-offensive line announcer,
he was terrible. And I know Ross Tucker. His brother played for the Browns. Ryan Tucker. He was awful.
He sucked so bad. He was so bad, and he was just like begging for that penalty. Oh, it looks like, and it clearly wasn't. I mean, that was not why the rule was put in. That wasn't what the rule was about. But I held my breath all the way until they kicked the extra point on that. And I saw the return when I saw the flag come out. I was convinced it was coming back. I couldn't believe they called the guy for going low on Styles, and it would just an absolutely enormous play at the biggest possible time. And Shiano kind of outsmarted himself on that because they did the little run into the line and stand up kind of jump pass type of thing. And if they'd have just kept running it, they kind of had us on our heels at that point in time, and we didn't really have much of an answer. Didn't have much juice, but after that we had plenty of juice and got it done.
Yeah, we got a couple super chats. D Sonny, I appreciate you, my man. You're in here every single night. Appreciate you. Am I caught up in the moment, or is this defense the funnest to watch ever? That is a gaudy statement. They just seem so fast. Do we have 11 future NFL draft picks on D? Well, I mean, these guys are up there with like 02, 2019. Like for my lifetime, those were the defenses that really stood out. I mean, obviously 05 for me was probably, I was biased. I mean, if our offense didn't suck in 2005 versus Texas and Penn State, we won a national championship. The defense couldn't have done more than they did against Penn State and Texas. And it's like when I see guys like AJ Hawk and Schlegel, it's like I still feel bad that we didn't get it done on our side of the ball. So that 05 team's up there, 02, 19. But Nevada, your thoughts on this? I think that this defense is playing fantastic. I think that we definitely have 11 at least 11 future NFL guys. I think everybody that starts is going to be in the NFL next year or the year after. But your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, definitely all the starters will be drafted. There's no question. I think the reason why it's so fun, and I feel the same way, I feel like watching the defense is an absolute joy, is just because the last 2 years has been so hard. Like we haven't been treated with some great defense as of late. And I think, for me personally, I watch this defense and I'm like, oh man, I love it every time they go. Before I would dread when our defense went on the field. Now I look forward to it. Like when our defense goes on the field, I'm thinking we're going to make a big play. We're going to make a sack. We're going to create a turnover. We're going to, something good's going to happen. We're going to get it. I mean, when we don't get a 3 and out, I'm almost kind of surprised. It's almost like, wait a second, they got a first down. So no, that's really a tribute to these guys, tribute to Knowles, and a lot of talent on this defense for sure.
I totally agree. Another super chat. Appreciate you, ZZM, my man. Rutgers shut down Marvin Harrison Jr. except for the 2 touchdowns. We can't have our best guy not getting us yards. Should we be concerned? Is there a fix? Here's the thing. I think that, it's a lot like what Bill Belichick does on defense. If you're playing fantasy football and you go against the Patriots and you've got a guy like Devontae Adams or whoever, Justin Jefferson, he is going to make that guy's life miserable. He's going to double team him. He's going to roll the coverage that way. He is not going to let the number one guy beat him. And that's not great. Greg Schiano is a Bill Belichick guy. He is a Belichick disciple. They're extremely close. And he has the same philosophy where he is not going to let Marvin Harrison Jr. get off for 200 yards and 10 catches and 3 touchdowns and, clinch the Heisman in Rutgers. So, when you do that, then guess who gets to eat? Trey Henderson. And that's why it's important to have Trey Henderson, because then you have 2 S-tier, A1A type guys at your 2 premium skill positions. Obviously your quarterback is the number 1 guy on the entire team, but he needs some real weapons to get it to. And I'm telling you, like with Trey, it was a lot easier to stop us. And it was a lot easier for our offense to be in like slog mode, stuck in first gear when we didn't have Trey. But now that you have Trey, they can double, you can go double Marvin, and then Trey is going to go absolutely ballistic because you're going to be rolling that safety over there, and he's going to find the creases and hit home runs. But your thoughts on that one, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and you watch, basically what happened is Rutgers played cover two, which for the guys that don't know what that means, it means they played two safeties most of the game against us, which is a very effective passing defense in terms of you're not allowing a lot of deep passes because you've got safety help over the top, for the majority of the game. However, when you see cover two from an offensive standpoint, that means you can run the ball. And as Kirk pointed out, when you're running the ball with guys like Chip and Mayan and whomever, you're a threat to go 5 yards or 6 yards or maybe 7 yards or 3 yards or not. But Trey's a threat to go 20 yards or 25 yards or take it to the house. And when you've got a weapon like that, look, it's kind of pick your poison because we've got the best wide receiver in America and we've got the best running back in America. So you can only take away one. You can either take away the run or you can take away the pass, but you can't take them both away.
Okay, so and this is like an example. It's always funny because Marvin always cracks it up with his stance. When he's in this old lady stance, he ain't getting the ball, so he does a little fake bubble here. But again, you got the two high safeties. So here's your strong, here's your free. He's back here off the screen. Here's your corner. Here's your corner up here. And again, Urban Meyer, again, I always talk about Urban Meyer because it was like working for Steve Jobs. When I worked for Urban, it was like Steve Jobs working under him at Apple because it was just, I learned so much football that it was just coming out of my ears forever. But he always said, if we get two high safeties, we should run for 1,000 yards that game. If a team wants to play us in too high, they can't defend what we do on offense. It's literally impossible. We outnumber them. We're +1, and we're going to run for 500 yards. So here, they don't have enough, because they're in too high because, again, you've got Mech and Marvin over here, so they're scared to death of those two. So what do? We do our little, we run power, which we hadn't run power at all last year. Now we're starting to run power, and there's nobody home. They don't have a down safety. Because again, like if you're going to run cover three or something like a single high safety where you put your free and you roll him down into the box, then all of a sudden he's the guy who's, you'd have your strong safety right here, and then he's the guy who's in the hole ready to take on Trey. But he's not there. He's 15 yards off. So all of a sudden he has like an impossible angle. Cause it's easy to do this if you're on Madden or something, but in real life, when Trey is a guy that runs a 4-3, and then this guy, is probably a 4-6, and this guy has all this green versus Trey, this is what happens. Trey just buzzes right past him and he bursts up the sideline. And these guys have to get on their horse on a pursuit angle to try to get him out of bounds. But again, that's 1st and 10. That's a run down. And we're running power into the boundary. Instead of running the stupid zone play, we're actually running power now, which is a great play. And we fit everybody up. This is great by the line. Everybody's got a hat on a hat. And when you don't have that safety down here, because you're scared of the pass, then all of a sudden, a lot of green grass. And when Trey has green grass, it is game over. There you go. Got another super chat. We got a lot of super chats, so we appreciate you guys. We're going to try to crank through these real quick. Michael, appreciate you, my man. Michael Jarrett. Their recruiting and what they did to affect not only Buckeye Players Awards and others in the Big Ten in the past years, yet they elevated their own players in draft stock. It's just ridiculous. Their players knew. They all knew. I agree. Again, the beauty of this is that, the revolution of Michigan football was televised. And literally, there's these clubs like Aiden Hutchinson. They're playing Nebraska. It's a strange down, and they call a screen. And the DNs are like looking at the sideline like this, and then all of a sudden the ball snapped, and nobody rushes. And it's like the perfect. If you could drop the most perfect way in the entire universe to play a screen, it'd be nobody rush, everybody stand there, and then everybody find the running back, and everybody surround the running back. And literally, the quarterback couldn't even throw because there were like 3 guys surrounding the running back instantly because they knew it was a screen. The guy picked off the signs. But your thoughts on that, Nevada? I mean, obviously the players knew.
Now, look, let's put aside every narrative. Everyone knew. Everyone knew. They all knew what was going on. They all knew because players aren't stupid. When you see a guy sitting there by the defensive coordinator and whispering in his ear, and the guy changing plays in terms of the guys know. Nobody's sitting there going, "Wow!" Imagine if you saw that at an Ohio State game where you had some little kid sitting by Ryan Day, whispering in his ear, and then Ryan Day's calling out plays, or sitting by Jim Knowles or whatever it is. I mean, it would be so obvious that it would just, it defies logic that they all didn't know, that they all weren't aware of it. And did it have an impact on? Yeah, and I'm telling you, for Ohio State players, it's impacted. These Michigan players that look so instinctive and so, wow, they just instantly know where the ball. I mean, that play that we showed on that, 2nd and 10, I think it was, in the Ohio State game when we were up 7-3, and and their safeties immediately trigger and run right to the hole. It's like, yeah, you're showing amazing instincts, but you know what the play's going, but you're not going to know anymore going forward, and it's gonna have an impact, and the games are going to be different. And I said before the Purdue game, the game would feel different. And you know what? Everybody that watched that Michigan Purdue game says, man, it just felt differently. Well, that's because they weren't cheating, and they didn't have stallions that are calling out the plays. And when that happens, it has an impact on you. And as a result, they didn't cover. Wow, like magic.
Like magic, they didn't. AZ King, get mods in here. Yeah, we'll get that cleaned up. We got some people en route. So Funky and Dagasan Pop, you're gonna get in there and start whacking people. Michael Jarrett, again, I appreciate it, man. The team of note is a joke. I love the passion. It's a joke, and forever should change their mascot to the Cheetahs. CBS has SEC horrible analysts. Yes, they do. The CBS analysts are terrible. So sick of hearing CBS people calling games. Good Lord. I agree with you. I mean, they've been so in the tank for the SEC for so many years that it's hard to listen to them actually talk about the Big Ten. So, I've watched a lot of CBS games over there, and when I saw they got the Big Ten, I was not thrilled. Buckeye 9.
No, before you get to Buckeye's question, have you ever seen those jokers before? Like, I've watched a lot of college football. I've never seen those two guys before.
From yesterday?
Yeah, have you seen them call games?
No, I've never seen Ross Tucker call a game. I mean, we've had like Andrew, like for Peacock, we had like Andrew Siciliano and Kyle. We've had the worst play-by-play guys ever. Like, honestly, put in the chat, should we do a game watch party where we kind of like go through and commentate the games? Because I know that I could do some better analysis than what these guys are doing, because they don't really know what's going on with the team, and they just are so like off base. It's like, it's hard to listen to. It's like you want to put on Paul Keels on the radio, but does that sync up to watching it on DirecTV or YouTube TV or Spectrum, whatever you guys are watching it on? No, they're really bad. Buckeye 91, could OSU beat Michigan playing it the way they have been? Absolutely. I think they can. I mean, they beat Penn State, they beat Notre Dame. Again, you have to win by one. And Rutgers was good. I mean, they're 6-2. They're giving us everything they wanted. And I think that they're coming off a bye week. It was their Super Bowl. It was they're at home, a lot of juice, whatever. But yeah, I think we'll be fine. Like, I think our guys, they'll go up a few levels for Michigan. I've seen it before. Again, in 2006, when we were number one in the country for the entire season, we played Illinois, played like crap, 17-10 out in Champaign, which is one of the worst stadiums in the entire universe. So they should put a bomb on it and blow it up, because it's like, it's quiet, it's empty. It's like Purdue. Some of those stadiums are lit, like Penn State, Wisconsin, Iowa. Like, those are they're easy to get jacked up for. Michigan's like that. And some of them are just terrible. So I think when they go up to Ann Arbor, there's going to be plenty of juice going on. Scheffler Healthcare, appreciate you, my man. $5. Go ahead, Nevada.
No, I can't remember what I was going to say. It was going to be something amazingly insightful, I'm sure, but you go ahead. No,
you're good. Tom Gobar, appreciate you, my man. I love how the national media talks about we struggled versus 6-2. Well, that's just what they do. I mean, Florida State was trailing by 2 versus Pitt, and Pitt stinks. Go Bucks. Great show, guys. Appreciate you, Tom. Here's the thing, and it's a theory, but I'm right, like usual, about some of my theories, where the national media, including our boy Colin Cowherd, who we love and who loves Buckeye Scoop, they know that if they bang on Ohio, if they bang on the Buckeyes, the Cavs, the Indians, the Browns, like when the Browns had Baker Mayfield, Colin will talk about them every single day, because Ohio State people tune in, they get angry, they tweet at them, and they just interact, and then the ratings skyrocket. So it isn't some like cosmic accident that like ESPN dogs out Ohio State. Like, we got voted number 1 in the college football playoff, and then they go to the panel and say, do you think Ohio State is the best team in the country? No, I think Georgia's. Do you? No, I think those guys are. It was like they were like 6 analysts, like Herb Street, Joey Galloway. They literally all picked the team that wasn't Ohio State, even though Ohio State was number 1 and they have the best strength of schedule. They're undefeated. They said, oh, like all 6 of them were like, oh no, I think Georgia's better. I think whoever's better. And I'm just like, but that's just standard. And again, I like that because like Ryan Day doesn't need to do anything to motivate these guys. Like these guys get dogged out more than any undefeated team in history. And I think that's great because I think it's better than getting just all the love. But your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, I want to go back to the Rutgers game just for a second. And we've talked about this before, but this is really important to remember. Remember when Rutgers played Michigan? It was 14-7 at halftime. That was the famous Schiano ready to kill somebody at halftime during the interview, because this is when Michigan was at their apex of cheating. It was still only 14-7. It was 17-7, and Rutgers was driving deep in Michigan territory and got a pick 6 to make it 24-7. They ended up losing 31-7 or whatever it was. But that was a really close game. And so, I mean, Michigan's not this unbeatable force. And that was when they had complete cheating access. Now they don't have that anymore. So Ohio State winning at Rutgers, given what this, because that was what worried me about the game. I know how tough they played Michigan, even when Michigan was cheating. I know we were coming off the Penn State game. I knew we were coming off the at Wisconsin at night. And remember, you play at Wisconsin at night, you basically lose a day of preparation because you got that night game. You're not back till 4:00 in the morning or whatever the heck it is, and then you play on a Saturday morning in New Jersey. It's like it's a really short week. It's a really short turnaround, and it's tough to get the juices going for these guys. And this week was a tough game. This was a losable game. I thought it was underish. I thought Ohio State would not cover the spread, and boy, I was wrong. The game went over, and boy, they covered. But boy, I didn't see that coming. I can tell you that.
No, I totally agree. Michael Jarrett, again, appreciate you, brother. And you want to watch the Bama game, and once they get away with a play, take a player out. And Daniel's every definition target to the ground happens all the time. Why do they get away with it? Well, because Bama is the brand that the SEC loves. And again, those guys, especially at home, they get more calls than any team in the history of college football because they want those guys somehow to eke into the playoffs. They want those guys to, because that is the flagship. Them and Georgia are the 2 flagships. And frankly, Bama, I think that they're an A-ish team. I don't think that they're at the top tier. I think Ohio State's in the top tier. I think Georgia's in the top tier. I think Bama's right below because I think their O-line is putrid. I think that their quarterback, I think is getting a little better. I think that their play caller's atrocious. And their skill guys are bad, which is crazy for Alabama because they had that run where they had Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Devonta Smith. I mean, they had just A1A wide receivers that were just terrifying. And they don't have that anymore. I mean, after J-Mo left, it's just been like turd city. But Nevada, do you think that there's some home cooking going on with Bama and the SEC and trying to, because they want that game, that Bama versus Georgia, and they want it to be a 1-point game, and they should both get into the playoffs. If Bama somehow would knock Georgia off, because I think they could. But what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think it's absolutely true, and I think it's smart. And I think the SEC's always been better at stuff like that than the Big Ten and other conferences, and that's why they do it. They do it because it works. I mean, why does Bama and all those teams schedule a cream puff in Week 11? Why do they schedule? Look, I don't know who their Week 11 schedules this year, but I guarantee it's some team like Mercer or some team like Liberty or something like that, and they do that because they're smart. The referees know who to take care of. They take care of the big brands, and I don't usually ascribe to that kind of a theory. But in terms of Alabama and the SEC, absolutely it happens. It happened this weekend. It happens every weekend with Alabama. They always get protected, and frankly, it's smart. It's good business, and they know how to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jason Chrisman, appreciate you guys. Thank you for the 5. Statistically, McCord and McCarthy have pretty comparable stats. How would you compare the 2 of them? Well, I think, it's tough. I think Kyle is a weird dude. I mean, because I've never seen a guy who is so bad in the first half and so good in the second half. It's almost like you wonder if Ryan Day, like when they do like the team walk from the hotel to the stadium and they go to the skull session, if they should make Kyle dress out in his like full regalia, like his full attire, wear his helmet, and make him live so that, like the fans have to like tackle him and sack him, and he has to throw the ball like for like an hour to 2 hours before the game actually starts, so that he can like get the butterflies or the jitters or the anxiety or whatever it is that goes on in the first half. Because the second half he calms down and plays good. But it is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, how it's like the tale of two Kyles. But JJ McCarthy's, he's going to be a problem. Like, he's their best player on offense, I think. And he's a guy that he's mobile, and, mobile quarterbacks can be an issue. But, I don't think their skill guys are what our guys are. And I think that we've got, I think we have better players. I think we have better players across the board. Their O-line is probably a touch better, but I watched their left tackle last night. He's trash. He's not as good as they've had in the past. So, again, I know everybody's scared of the big bad wolf, but I ain't. I mean, I just study the players, and I ain't seeing that team from 2 years ago that had Hutchinson and Mazzie Smith, and their O-line was better that year. And plus, they were all jazzed up. And I think, without Connor Stallions, it's going to be a little bit different this year. But your thoughts on McCord versus McCarthy in Nevada?
Well, I mean, to me, the big difference is it comes out of one thing: legs. I mean, McCarthy runs the ball, and he's a genuine threat to run the ball. And that's problematic for Ohio State's defense. That's problematic for every defense in college football. And the fact is, we don't do that. And so, don't want to beat a dead horse, but to me, that's the biggest difference. Their passing numbers are very similar, despite the inequality between first half and second half performance. Their numbers are, very, like. But the only thing that worries me about Michigan is McCarthy running the ball, and that's been our kryptonite for a long time. It's tough to, it just makes everything more difficult to defend. And but can we do it? Of course, we've got an elite defense. We can absolutely do it. It's not like we're going to be unaware of it. It's not like we're going to go up there and be like, "Wow, McCarthy runs." I didn't know that. I didn't see that in preparation. And what we really need is we need a guy like Connor Stallions to kind of come and share with us kind of the magic.
God.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of like what they're going to do. And they're like, wait a second. He can sit behind Jim Knowles, and he can whisper in Jim Knowles' ear every time, like, hey, Connor, J.J. McCarthy's going to keep it this time. And then Jim can signal that down there. If that happened, imagine how good our defense would be unbelievable then.
Yeah. Yeah, when you can have the two safeties run right at the line of scrimmage as soon as the ball snaps, because they know it's a quarterback draw. Like,
full speed.
Full speed. Yeah, we broke that play down a couple days ago. It was unbelievable. Ravia Tube, appreciate you. Thank you for the 20. Any chance we can pin some of the Stallion stuff on Parker Fleming and suspend him for the rest of the season, or do we need to wait till the end of the year to fire him? How much more evidence is needed that he's hurting us? Again, I call our special teams, I call it the Saturday Night. It's like the Saturday Night Live, like the vintage, like Saturday Night Live, like back in the old days, like the mid 90s to the 70s, when Saturday Night Live was hilarious. Because when they come out, man, I'm always dying laughing at some of the stuff that goes on. This is like the Steve Martin Saturday Night Live. This is like Will Ferrell. It's like vintage, hilarious. That's what our special teams is like. Every week, I never know what it's going to be. Like this week, like I've never seen a punter just go rogue. And I didn't even know a punter had an option to go rogue. Like I get it, like if it's a bad snap or something like crazy happens, but like he literally just took the snap and just ran. And like, if I'm Ryan Day, I'm like, how in the world would you ever think that you're allowed to do that? Go do your own thing. And so he got that idea from somewhere, and I'm guessing it wasn't him. But your thoughts on the special teams, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've banged this one to death.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, at this point, we're just kind of piling on, but I mean, it's going to cost us, man. It's going to cost us. You cannot be this bad on special teams consistently. We've dodged the bullets every time that it's happened. We've been able to make the stops. We've been able to, hold after the big returns, and we've been able to, kind of weather the storm. But man, oh man, what you gotta hope is at the end of the year that he just kind of gets encouraged to move on, to take an upgrade, a promotion somewhere. I understand there's a DC job available at USC. They're going to be looking for somebody. Maybe they can use Parker Fleming.
Recruiting analyst at Michigan, assistant to the assistant.
Yeah, and again, I don't I don't like to pile on coaches because I feel like
Uh,
they've got a difficult
it,
job and stuff. But like
uh,
this is it's clear and competent. I mean, it's clear
uh,
that our special teams aren't good, and like we said, every week it's a different aspect of it, and it's just, we should have like special teams bingo or something like that, and everybody
mm,
gets a card, and you get like kickoff return, punt return, punt, kickoff, punt, field goal. What I mean, just you get a card, and for the snafu, we'll do it. We may do that. We may hand that out to Buckeye Scoop members before the next game, and we'll all play special teams bingo.
oh my gosh, it's so bad. Sheffer, appreciate you again, my man. Thank you for the 10. Scum vacates wins this year. The game won't mean as much for the playoff, but I think it'll be nice to prove we are superior. We always have been. Then they can drink their they can drink their cruddy water and go blow. I agree. And again, like, when you take the banners down and you take the thing and you delete the big reunion of the Big Ten championship team, like, I think that stuff matters. I mean, the players, like, they'll have the rings and say, oh, you can't take our memories, but they kind of do when you vacate everything. It's kind of like all your accomplishments are null and void. And, I think it's going to happen. Nevada, do you think that that's the road we're going down, is vacating the wins?
I think it depends on how cooperative Michigan is in this, and how much pushback the Big Ten gets, because I think the commissioner Petitti's got everything in his arsenal right now. Um, But when you think about Michigan, the big damage, the long term damage, the damage to the brand of Michigan right now is just I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing
Yeah.
that's the only thing that makes any of this okay for me. That's the only thing that makes me know that no matter what, that I'm going to be okay with this, because they'll always be known as the cheaters. They'll always be known as the cheating program. And as an Ohio State fan, man, that's great. I would hate it if we had done something like that. I really would. I would hate it. I'd still be a fan. I wouldn't give up my fan card. I'd still go to the games. I'd still have my gear, but I'd be embarrassed. I'd be
Oh
embarrassed, and
yeah.
I'd be embarrassed that that's what we had to resort to after we were just getting our butts just kicked by our rival for so many years, that we had to resort to cheating. And if you look at the timing of this whole thing, it's coming off the 2020 thing where they tapped out on the fake COVID thing, where
Yep.
Ryan Day was gonna hang 100 on them, and then 2021 Stallions and his magic recording. Those recording glasses we will never stop showing that tape, because that is the most beautiful thing ever. That's the most
Uh,
Michigan thing. That is the ultimate Michigan man right out there. I'm going to wear my recording glasses to the Central Michigan State game, and no one will notice. And look how I'm doing this. This is
oh
so
my God.
clever. So no, no, the brand's been tarnished forever, and that's a good thing. That's a positive thing, and that makes me happy.
I agree. Charles Smith, this is a great point. Rutgers was 6-1. The Michigan loss will be vacated. I agree. Appreciate the 2. Thank you, my friend. Michael Jarrett, again, leading the charge. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 5. They didn't even review the play for Bama. I was talking about with Gary Danielson. How is that not reviewed? I assume you mean Gary Danielson when you say that. Sorry to bring it up again, but no review. It's obvious. Oh, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, the SEC is the greasiest, slimiest, most cheating organization in the universe. And it's like when we had that 19 call, I'll never forget the SEC when they had the SEC officials running the Fiesta Bowl when we played Clemson, and Sean Wade had that miraculous play, and they sent it to like the Birmingham offices of the SEC officiating crew, and they don't they call they don't reverse the call or whatever. And it was like one of those unbelievable calls where we were getting jobbed. And I think, again, I'm not trying to be like tinfoil hat guy, but they're not going to do Ohio State any favors, especially that Ohio State team. Because that 19 Ohio State team was really good. And I think that the game of the universe of the century would have been that 19 LSU team, which was maybe the best team in history, versus that 19 Ohio State team that had Chase Young and Jordan Fuller and Okuda. And because, I know they had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, which is the best duo in the history of college football for wide receivers, but we had good corners and we had a hellacious pass rush. So I don't know. That would have been a good one, because they ran through Clemson, and Clemson wasn't really that good. Poopier 12, appreciate you, my man. $5. Regardless of the mountains of evidence, the fact that CJ is a top 10 NFL QB right now should be all the proof to know that they cheated. Nevada, do you believe that CJ is top 10 right now? He might be top 15. Top 10 might be a little high, but in terms of like long-term projection, he's probably top 5, just because of what he's still on this far. But your thoughts on that?
Well, let me get to the real important point. Yeah, it shows that they cheated. The 3 points in the second half of the game last year was the most inexplicable thing that I've ever seen in all of my years of watching Ohio State football. I will never understand that. No, I correct that. I perfectly understand it now. But I didn't understand it until I found out that they were cheating. So yeah, does it show that they were cheating? Absolutely. Now, is Stroud a top 10 quarterback right now? Might be.
He might be. I mean, dude,
he might be.
I mean,
he might be. I mean,
you
he's really freaking good. He's really freaking good.
Yeah, I mean, especially like if you talk about right now, when guys that would have been on that fringe of the 10, like because Kirk Cousins is playing. I mean, he's unbelievable. He was unbelievable this year. He's gone. Rodgers is gone. Watson's hurt. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have fallen by the wayside, and it's like, it's like if you put CJ in like Tua's situation, and he had the Cheetah and Jalen Waddle and Mike McDaniels as his play caller, and or you put him in Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's obviously he's a top 10 guy. Burrow, if he had Jamar, because again, I always just think like if you put CJ like in Cincinnati as Jamar Chase, or somewhere where he's got like a dynamic monster wide receiver, which he doesn't have with Houston. You put him in Dallas instead of Dak, and he's got CD. God, he's top 5 to me. We got another.
Well, hold on. I would take Stroud over Dak Prescott.
I just said that.
I would take Stroud over Tua. I would take Stroud over Tua right now.
I just said that. Yeah, I mean, I mean, like if you put him with Tyreek, he'd probably have 8,000 yards. I mean, totally. I think how many guys? I mean, again, this is if you're projecting out. I mean, it's again when a guy's a 20-year-old and you own a franchise, like I don't know who I'd take over him right now. I mean, a 20-year-old who's this good this early with not a lot around him. I mean, that's if you're starting a team tomorrow, like there's not many guys. I mean, maybe Justin Herbert, maybe Joe Burrow. Obviously, you take Mahomes because he's got 2 rings and he's fantastic. But there's just not many guys that are. It's a real short list if you're thinking about guys you take over CJ at this point. Tatterbuck, appreciate you, man. Thank you for the 5. After seeing Penn State smoking Maryland, like Snoop would smoke a J. I love that. That's amazing. Do you think they will beat Michigan on Saturday? It's going to be interesting, man, because I think that, here's the thing. Michigan obviously is still going to run through teams like Purdue, and they're going to run through Maryland because Maryland's, fallen off. Maryland is basketball season. Like there's teams like Maryland where they start off 5-0 and they're great, and then all of a sudden they hit some adversity, they get smacked by Ohio State, and then all of a sudden it's basketball season. They're done. They're packing the stuff away and getting the basketballs out. But Penn State, now they've got about equal talent to Michigan. And Michigan doesn't have the silver bullet that is Connor Stalions picking the plays. So what are your thoughts on that game, Nevada? We haven't talked about that one. That one's going to be real interesting this week.
I'm betting Penn State plus the 6.5. I can tell you that.
Oh, God. They're getting 6.5 at home?
They're getting 6.5 at home.
And that's a noon. It's a noon game, though, right? It's not a night game. Not the Big Ten.
It's the stupid noon game instead of the night game, which is for people say that doesn't make a difference. It makes you played in the game. I don't.
Oh God, it's the biggest difference in the world. Playing Penn State at night is like it's like walking into the gates of like heck. When when you play them at noon, it's just sleepy. I mean anyone that's been to an Ohio State noon game versus an Ohio State night game, the electricity level goes up 10 notches when it's a night game because people get drunk and people got all day to tailgate and you get on the alternate uniforms and just it being dark, it just gets a little bit. It's like that's why like Sunday night football is usually the game of the week. That's why they flex the biggest game in the NFL to Sunday night because it's just bigger, it's better, it's more revved up. Monday night football, like that's why they do it. Because people like night games. Taterbuck, appreciate you, my man. We got this one. I think Michigan's in trouble this week. I really do. I think that I want to make sure I knock that out. I got another play to break down. This is a really pretty zone play. I want to highlight a young guy that I guarantee you very few of you guys know. This is Patrick Gerd. So he's getting some run because Cade Stover's probably going to be out till the Michigan game. His dad was Andy Gerd, who was a really good player at Ohio State. Fantastic guy. I worked at Ohio State when I was there as a player. But he's getting in and getting, I mean, he's playing real time. So, he was a walk on. I think he's on scholarship now, but he might still be a walk on. But he's kind of like a Diet Coke version of Mitch Rossi. So, they're trying to make him into that Mitch Rossi. Mitch Rossi is one of the most underrated players in school history. But this is just fantastic by the whole squad. I mean, you look at, G, again, I've been very critical of G, but I mean, he had his moments where he's blocking some guys. He has some tough stuff. But here, again, sometimes it's just effort, running your legs, driving a guy. That's beautiful. Josh Simmons gets his guy on skates. Also beautiful. The guy that murders someone here, and this makes me very proud because Donnie Jackson has been very up and down this year, but he wears 74, and there's a lot that comes with wearing 74 because you got to represent for John Hicks. So, they get up here, him and Matt has been an absolute bull. Matt has been our best player. He's been our best lineman by far. But they just bully this guy. And again, this is one of those demoralizing moments in your life when you've got two Ohio State 310-pound guards that are real strong, and they hit you, and you fold like a cheap tent. And then Trey basically just has to do a little light spin move. He breaks the tackle here. This guy's a little bit of penetration, but he gets a little bit of an arm on him. And Trey's just being Trey. The guy that has no vision and no talent and isn't as good as Mayan Williams magically is really, really good. I would have never guessed that in Nevada. But your thoughts on Trey as we wrap this thing up?
Well, no, that was great. It was nice to see. I thought Jimmy Simmons had a nice game. He
Yeah.
got away with a procedure on a big play with it. They didn't call him. He kind of anticipates the snap. He does that at least once or twice, and sometimes three times a game. But I thought he quietly had a good game. I know he's been kind of a popular whipping boy for a lot of people, but I think he's been better as late as the entire offensive line has. And when that line, when they start running some of those the plays that aren't the loser plays where we're completely outnumbered at the point of attack, then the running game starts looking better. And obviously with Trey back there, it makes it all work. So no, it's coming together slowly but surely.
I totally agree. Well, we're going to wrap this thing up. Nevada, final thoughts. Guys, we're going to be cranking these podcasts all week. We anticipate a huge day tomorrow. But your final thoughts as we get into potential Jim Harbaugh suspension tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I think stuff's going to be happening for Harbaugh. Timing this stuff. I hate to get tied down to timelines, and I've kind of done that on this one because timing this stuff is always dicey. But
Yeah,
I think it happens tomorrow. I think it happened. If it's not tomorrow, it's Tuesday or Wednesday. But it's not going on, guys. It's not going on. This is all happening. It's all happening in real time. And for Michigan fans, just start working through those stages of grief, and let's all get to acceptance. We'll get you to acceptance, and just be strong together, guys. You can do it.
yeah. Go to your support groups. Actually, we don't care. Yeah, we love Ohio State. We hate Michigan, so we enjoy all of your pain. That being said, as always, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you guys, especially even you Wolverines that are in here watching and trolling. We enjoy you guys too. But if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Probably going around 7 o'clock every night this week. So if you guys want the best content, make sure you click that alert bell. Get a little alert on your phone or on your iPad when we go live so you can get in, tune in, and check us out. So we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for the super chats. Again, if you guys ever have a question you're dying to know, super chats automatically get answered. So thank you guys so much. We've got a lot of content to get through. So if we did not get your question, we apologize, but our super chats always get answered. So as always, in your comments, shout out where you guys are watching from. I saw my boys from Portsmouth in here, my boys from Cleveland, Canton, Naples, guys all over the place, Texas, California. Appreciate all of you guys forever and ever. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you guys that are in here every night. You guys are the absolute best. So thank you to our regulars. With that being said, also leave your MVPs, your offensive and defensive MVPs from the game. I always like seeing your comments and seeing what you guys enjoy. So with that being said, thank you, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. We'll be on about 7, unless there's a suspension. We might have a surprise live show. But we appreciate you guys so much. Hope you have a great game. Hope the Bengals win to do. Who day? I hope they beat the Bills tonight. So go Bucks. I have actually never come back on the show, but Barb Barrett threw on a super chat. So I'm going to answer this real quick. Barb, I hope you're still on here, but at what point did the Scum players know that there was cheating, recruiting or in the game? When I believe when they started getting all of the signals. So all of the signals started to get answered. Again, these guys look at the sidelines. All of a sudden, this one little guy knows all of the plays. If it's a run, it's a pass. You see the guy signaling. You see the guys on the sideline signaling, pointing up, pass, down, run. And then the coordinator's calling the perfect play. And I think that, they thought, wow, our defense is really easy. We know exactly what play they're going to run. So I think that's when. So I've never done that before, but I appreciate you. That thing came in right as I was getting ready to shut it off. So thank you, Barb, again, for your super chat. Thank you for the 5. I hope you enjoy the show. You guys have a great night. Go Bucks.